Hi guys, welcome back to Skincare Anarchy. Today is such a dream come true. This is very surreal for me, and I am so starstruck to even be hosting this amazing guest. I'm sure you all have heard of Revlon. I'm sure it holds a very special place in your hearts, just like it does mine. So without further ado, I want to introduce you guys to the Chief Marketing Officer for Revlon, Martine Williamson. Welcome to the show, Martine. Thank you so much for taking the time to do this and to come chat with us.
Oh my goodness, Eka, thank you for that beautiful intro.
Oh,
I'm really happy to be here. I love, these are the things that we love to do. Beauty's a fun category, so you have to have fun with it.
yeah, absolutely. And I couldn't think of a better brand that really encompasses that. And I want to get started by really talking about you because I know I have a lot of, things to rave about with Revlon, but I really want to know more about you and how, your career journey has led to this. I know you've been a, integral part of Revlon for many years. So could you get us started with your career background?
Yeah, absolutely. I started, my career in advertising at a little creative shop down in Soho. And I always think, I like to hire when we're hiring kind of junior marketing positions. I really love hiring agency people because I think it gives you, a really great kind of skill set and you really understand how to work with clients and late hours and creative and, account management. I think that whole combination really kind of builds you as a strong marketing candidate. And from there, I actually pitched a business that we did not win, but it was Calvin Klein, and they asked me to come over to interview for a marketing position there. So I started at Calvin, such a beautiful, iconic American brand with such a defined positioning. And I started on the fashion side, which was really, about buzz generation. So it was less so P&L driven and really just about creating the buzz and getting the right celebrities to wear the product and getting the word out there. And with time, I grew and got promoted, and I went to the fragrance business, which was very much about the P&L. Fragrance and underwear were the biggest growth drivers at Calvin, and they were also licensed business. So really a virtual company, but got my first foray into beauty and fragrance, was so event driven, holidays and Mother's Day, and really building, the campaigns and the programs and the GWPs to drive that. So really a nice mix, I would say, of the creativity, but with the financial rigor. And realized I loved that balance. Like I'm very much a left brain, right brain type of person. So ultimately, the head of licensing at Calvin went over to Revlon to start a new division called Brand Exposure and Global Licensing and asked me to join. So that was my first introduction to Revlon in 2000, which is, it pains me to say. But started there, really building this new department. And it was about how do you get the brand out there in less traditional ways. At the time, it was very driven by print and TV. So we really started by doing partnerships and movie tie-ins and, attending like Sundance and building out spas with InStyle magazine. So really kind of guerrilla marketing, brand driving activities. And that gave me a lot of exposure to the organization cross-functionally. And it was really about changing the way that marketing was looked at. So it was a very interesting and transformative role for me as I started as a marketing manager. And when I left that role, I was a senior director. And then I held more traditional roles within Revlon. Within the color, marketing space. And then I moved to merchandising. I worked at Bentonville for a year on the sales side. So really moved around to get different perspectives. And I always said yes to new opportunities. I think you should always say yes, because even if it doesn't seem like the sexiest role or something that you may want to do at the onset, you'll always learn from it. And it always just builds kind of your personal toolkit.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, I completely agree. And I mean, I want to ask you though, because you have such a diverse background with the marketing, aspect of things. So like when you first started like rebuilding and redesigning what you needed to do for Revlon, what were some of the things, that hurdles and things that you had to work through, like, in terms of like coming up with concepts? Like, can you go into more detail?
Absolutely. I think the biggest hurdle when you're in an organization and trying to sell in a new idea is building the trust of your colleagues.
Yeah.
Really developing those relationships and ensuring that we all have the same vision and we're aligned in the path forward. And when you are, bringing something to the table that hasn't been done yet, it's also important to make sure that you have kind of those KPIs and measurements in place so that
Mm,
we're all tracking and being objective in what success looks like.
yeah.
So I would say there's so much of that internal just relationship building and trust building that really enables success, I think, quicker.
Yeah.
And then, being out there and this, to me, and I'm not a great networker in the traditional sense of the word. I'm not like one to really go to networking events, but again, back to building relationships with other brands and other business verticals and being kind of on the pulse of what's happening in music and film and, all these different areas and now digital and influencer. So I think always kind of looking externally and externally with what the consumer's doing versus being so internally focused.
That makes sense. No, that makes a lot of sense. And I love that you said that about team building, because I think, I've had so many conversations with like editors, and we talk about, for example, like I know for me, Revlon has always been this brand that is just a beacon of like just inclusivity and just a safe place. I remember being like, I started with makeup when I was like 11, 12 years old, hiding it from my mother, of course,
Of course.
but like, for me, it was the first brand that I found a shade of foundation, or I found a shade of lipstick that worked for me. And it was just this amazing experience, you know what I mean? Of like going in and being able to find something that looked good on my skin and made me feel beautiful. So like I've always looked at Revlon as like this like kind of like an example of how inclusivity should be, you know what I mean, in the beauty industry. So like I want to talk to you about that a little bit and how that works within the company. Like, when you're hiring or when you're looking for new talent, like, how do you keep up with that, that vision and that drive that Revlon has always had?
Yeah, no, that's a great question because we really truly have been a brand of firsts from its onset, and we've kind of challenged the norm and always kind of been at the zeitgeist of culture. And if you think, whether it was, back to our color stories and really speaking to that like housewife, in a
Yeah.
different way that brought these fantasies to life that weren't really, accepted at the time, and to Charlie, and the woman in a pantsuit, slapping the man's, behind.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
had we were the first person to hire an African American brand ambassador. We've had men in our campaigns with Unforgettable Women. So
Right.
we really have always had that in the heart of our business.
Yeah.
And, it's important to me and the team to really make sure that goes through and seeps through every employee, no matter where you work in the organization. And so, we have a D&I committee. We are on councils. We have a multicultural group that really is doing phenomenal things with scholarships. So it's always just been a part of our DNA and who we are. And we ensure that we're always pushing ourselves to be there. And by the way, you can find talent everywhere.
Yeah, no, I know, and honestly, Martine, I want to share a story with you because this is seriously like so close to my heart. My parents are immigrants to this country, and they came over here obviously to build a better life. They were both professionals in India, and then when they came over here, like they had nothing, all their degrees didn't really matter because they redo everything. But my mother, her only makeup item was a Revlon lipstick. and she had bought that in like rural India, and she brought it all the way from India to America, and she to this day still has it, and it's this beautiful maroon lipstick. And I remember like being a kid and watching her put it on and seeing how just that one thing that she did for herself gave her so much empowerment, and she was able to go out into the world. She completely recreated her life, you know what I mean? She went back to school, did all these things. And I'm not saying, like that's everything, but that one thing, that one makeup item she has, I've seen it empower her over and over again. So for me, like I look at that and I think about, we have all these conversations now in the beauty industry where it's like women empowerment and love your body and love yourself, but it's like, Revlon has just been doing that, like, just innately. And I just want to talk to you a little bit more about that, like how you perceived that as you joined the company, and just, your experience with that whole aspect.
Oh my goodness. So it's so funny. Everybody has a story about themselves, their mother, their grandmother having a Revlon product and the transformative nature of it. So there really is something emotional about that. But one of the reasons that I returned back to Revlon this year is because of Debbie Perlman. And I worked with her peripherally back in the day, and always had such respect for her. And she really worked her way up, and, was never handed any favors, and one of the smartest people I know. So when she called me and, told me what they, were trying to do, and really transforming the business and acting more entrepreneurial and like a startup, and everyone I met, the female leadership team were female leaders, but 75% of us on the leadership team were women.
Wow.
And we have a female CEO. So if you look at our competitors and across like the industry, that's very rare, which is very surprising.
Yeah, it is. No, I know. I mean, that's amazing.
Yeah, it is. And so that was like a big checkbox for me, because, we know like you want to support each other, and together we are so much stronger. And we don't need to be competitive, and we need to lift each other up. And that's really the culture we have here. And so when I say, you can find talent everywhere, I don't think I haven't gone the traditional route in my career. And I think that looking in all places, at all colors, all sizes, there is just like such an opportunity to continue to bring in new, and build and develop.
That's I love that. I really love that. And wow, on the amount of women that are in the team, that's phenomenal. No wonder, no wonder that the brand is just so iconic, and it's remains that way. I mean, I think like from the beginning, like if you do things right, like it really shows. And obviously, Revlon is iconic in every way possible. So that makes sense, everything you said. I want to ask you though that, from a multicultural standpoint, because I know there's a lot of, there's a lot of fans for Revlon all over the world. It really resonates. The brand resonates with literally every woman, I think, in the world. And so how do you guys manage that international, just presence and, message or vision that you have for the brand, like, for, in different countries and different cultures?
Yeah, so we build out our, strategy, our 3-year strategy, and build a global portfolio. So it's very insights driven. We work hand in hand with our consumer insights group that leverages global insights trends. We're very data driven in our approach. And we build out this global portfolio, and then we work very closely with the markets on what needs and gaps that they have due to their local market trends or behaviors or consumer insights. And so then we like layer on this local market innovation planning. And quite frankly, there's, different trends, like China, for instance, they do a lot of in and out, very trend, very color driven. So we do some local market innovation in those markets to ensure that we're really building out their needs on kind of the quick, fast fashion. And then we have our mainstays, like a color stay foundation, where we ensure that that's captured everywhere globally, and we're building a shade range that delivers for every skin type globally. And we have state-of-the-art manufacturing R&D facilities, product development. We use external panels and systems. So our development is, top of the line.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, no joke, Martine. Like this, I remember when I was like, obviously using makeup as a teenager, like you have acne breakouts and stuff like that, right? And we all deal with that. And for me, I had very sensitive skin. And so when I used to try even some of the other brands, I'm not going to call anyone out, but like, even some of the other huge brands that we hear about, I would always get these breakouts, but I never had problems with Revlon. I never had like, I put on foundation the next day, I'm like breaking out. So it's like the technology has always been there. And, especially now, like this conversation becomes so relevant because we're talking so much. I mean, the whole podcast for me is skincare, right? So we talk about skincare and just being like, using products that are healthy for your skin and they don't cause more damage. And I feel like Revlon's just been doing that from the beginning. So, can you talk to us a little bit about that? And like, in terms of like, how does the whole, formulation aspect work for the brand? Like, I mean, is it, how is all of that set up?
Yeah, so keep in mind, we also have Elizabeth Arden, which is, leading in prestige skincare with such unbelievable innovation, their ceramides and their Provage. And then Almay, which has been, was clean before clean was a thing and
Yeah.
hypoallergenic and less ingredients. So no, I'm really proud of the brands within the portfolio and how they have delivered on that cutting edge formulation and delivering on skin needs. And we test, we don't test on animals, so we follow all of, cruelty free, but we do test and we have very strict regulatory, very conservative legal, which sometimes from a marketer can be a pain. um, but we really do, we do it properly because we do it ourselves, and our development timelines in some cases are longer when the innovation is that groundbreaking, of course. But we just do it really well because we've been doing it for so long, and we leverage, foundational ingredients that are thriving in, in skincare into a color product, because we
Yeah.
have such a diverse portfolio. We have, every beauty care item. We have deodorant and hair care and tools and men's grooming. And so we have a large library to pull from.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it totally makes sense. And I just think that, it's so nice that there are brands such as this, well, Revlon especially, where it's available to everybody. The accessibility is just, I mean, next level. I don't think you can beat Revlon with accessibility. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's really good to know that the products that people are buying from this brand and, all of the other brands in your portfolio, they're quality products, and they're not things that are going to harm the consumers, because I know a lot of times people, they criticize drugstore brands, or they criticize brands you can find in like, a pharmacy, because it's like, oh, it's not as good as like Sephora's brands or whatever. But that's just, Revlon is just in a whole different, like category, like, it's just like luxury makeup, and that's accessible to everybody. So I love
But
it.
I think that point is important because it does go back to inclusivity and how much that is such, the heart of our total portfolio. And we want to provide quality products at accessible prices because, we're not elitist, and we want it to be available to all of those who can afford. So that's a big piece in how we kind of develop and do our packaging. A lot of times we'll spend, a lot of money on the formulation, and keep the package more clean and minimal and sustainable, but to really, invest in the formulation too.
Yeah, and you guys have like the amount of product is like phenomenal too. Like you can buy a thing of foundation and it's gonna last you forever. Like it's like it's really not like you're buying. I mean, you know what I mean? You spend like $15 on a foundation, and that foundation is gonna last you for like a really long time. And it's just, I love it. I love the accessibility. I love how, in every country, like you can go to like, India, you can go to, Sri Lanka or anywhere, you can get these products and women can afford them and keep them. And, it's not something they have to keep worrying about, like refilling and rebuying and stuff. So I think it just makes such a huge impact, globally, when I think about it from like a humanistic standpoint, like, in terms of economy and all that good stuff. So I really, really just, I really admire the brand for all of that, and giving women those options.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you though, for some career advice, because I know that is something
You're the
everyone.
doctor or asking me for career advice.
Well, you know what? Yeah, I mean, you have had such a phenomenal career, so I would love for you to share some insight, just for all the young professionals out there, that want to make it and they want to do really well in this industry, and especially if they're in marketing, if you have any, words of wisdom for them.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna sound somewhat repetitive, but there's two things that I think have been a secret to my success. And one is building that relationship cross-functionally and really like leveraging your partner's expertise and what they bring to the table and soaking that all in. I think building those, really authentic relationships helps drive things faster. And when the collaboration is high, like great ideas come. And with that, also building a network of like mentors. There's so much that you can learn from people and even in different industries and different levels, just tapping in and always, learning. Like I'm just such a curious person. So
Yeah.
I ask a lot of questions, and I think like continuing to always do that and build that out and have that curiosity. And then the other thing is, say yes to opportunities. Don't go in thinking, and I find that is a difference with some of like Gen Z and millennials, like they think they have a path and know that path at such a young age. And I
Yeah.
think there's beauty into, letting things happen and taking opportunities that you might not have thought you would and seeing where that takes you. I mean, I never would have thought I would come back to Revlon. When
Yeah.
I left, I had a great career. I was very happy. I was cheering for the brands on the sideline. But it really is just keeping yourself open to opportunities and risks and being okay with taking risks because you're
Right.
going to fail. And we all, I'm sure you can agree with this, like you learn more from your failures than you do from your successes.
Yeah.
And I think
Yeah.
you can't be okay. You need to be okay with that failure. And a lot of people get a little nervous about that, and then therefore, are more conservative in their career approach.
Yeah, no, that's really, really great advice. And I hope everyone listening, please, just, pay heed and really listen to what Martine said, because I completely 100% agree with you. And, also I want to ask you from like a marketing standpoint, because I know there are so many, entrepreneurs now in the beauty space where they're really trying to get their products out there. And, it's a struggle. And I keep hearing that from small business entrepreneurs that are just like, well, I don't know how to attract customers to what I'm selling. And so are there any like key marketing like jewels that you've picked up during your career that you could share with them?
Well, what the beauty of today is that when I started out, we did not have is in order to get consumer feedback, you had to do, consumer research and testing and focus groups and quantitative. Nowadays, with the internet, you can read reviews and you can read social feeds and commentary, and you can get consumer feedback every minute of the day. And I
Yeah.
think truly understanding figuring out your target and what consumer you are going after, but truly understanding what they want, what they're looking for, what they like in a product, what they don't like in a product or a campaign or a brand. And that is like so much, like that's worth millions.
Yeah.
And having that at your fingertip, those insights. And so I find myself in my spare time, like, trolling all of these sites just to get into the heads of the consumer. And, there's general global trends that are so important: clean beauty and sustainability and, shade inclusivity. And then, understanding that and building your strategy to ensure you're delivering, but then getting into the nuance based on, what product you're developing. And I think that is the key to success, is really leveraging all of the intel we have on a regular basis from consumers.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I love that. And I think that's something that, I don't think a lot of people spend time on. So I totally see the value of really doing that deep dive into understanding the consumer. I want to ask you though, Martine, I have to ask you, what are some of your favorite beauty products that you can't live without, or skincare products that you can't live without? I'm sure
Oh,
everyone wants to know.
oh my gosh, the list is so long. Okay, so first of all, like if I was on a deserted island, well, I guess maybe less so because I wouldn't see people, but I can't leave. I love mascara. Like that's my one that I have to wear among all else. So I love my mascara. I am just like many people during COVID, I really amped up my skincare.
Yeah.
So I always, am a beauty junkie. Clearly, I've been in beauty for my entire career, but I will try anything. And I will also try any kind of laser treatment or anything like that. But I really have started to do the masks and trying the serums. I love our ceramide capsules, like the portability and like the snackability of what's happening in skincare now, and doing the layered routine. So I think I put like 7 products on a night.
Same, don't worry.
Yes, and it's fun. And my daughters have now taken up that, and they're too young to be spending that much money, or my money. And then who doesn't love to rock a good lip, a good colored lip?
Yes,
When,
so true.
right, when we're on Zoom too, like that's the
Yeah.
one thing that just brightens the day. And then, I've been, another thing with COVID is, the hair routine, the nail, I started kind of doing a lot of that at home, and it saves me so much time and money now. Like I don't always need to sit in a salon,
Yeah.
but I'm so busy. So I really play across the board. I really do. But I would say that skincare is my latest obsession, and all the latest innovations coming out of that, and a good lip and a mascara.
I love that. I love that. And I love that you love skincare so much, because yes, that is the whole point of my podcast. And I am truly
What is your favorite skincare product?
oh my gosh, you can't put me on the spot with that.
Hard question. It's like, who's your favorite child?
I really love masks. I'm not gonna lie to you. I love any kind of a good hydrating, moisturizing mask, because I love just coming home and being able to put that on my face and be like, oh,
It's
okay.
self-care, like
It
such a
is. It is
bigger
self-care.
element to it than just your skin.
Yeah, it's like the feeling of just like, okay, something cool is on my face and I'm laying down and I don't have to worry about anything else.
And I took the day off, like with that one mask, came off my stress of the day.
Exactly, exactly. I love that skincare is like, it's picking up. You know what I mean? So I really support your daughters. You got to let them, let them spend their allowances on skincare, because that's it's a good thing. But thank you, Martine. This has been so wonderful. You are just so lovely and such an inspiration. I'm truly starstruck that you even made the time for this.
Oh my
I
gosh,
can't thank
it
you
was
enough.
so much fun. What an enjoyable part of my afternoon.
If I can, I'm going to try to grab you again for another episode if you ever have time in the future. So,
You
just
have
keep an
my
eye out.
number. You have my number.
Okay. Well, everyone listening, I'm sure you already know where to find Revlon. I'm gonna tag, obviously everything in the art for this, but I would love to hear your comments and your feedback. And please, please, please go onto iTunes or Spotify. Leave us some ratings, some comments. We really want to hear from you. And if you have any questions for Martine's team, leave them in the comment section and I'll pass them along. Thank you
Oh,
so much.
perfect. More consumer feedback. I love it. Thank
Thank
you
you
so
so
much.
much.
Have a great day.
You too.